How's everybody doing? It's me, the fly guy, Scott Bowerman, Daiichi Pro Tire, and I'm going to tie you a mega egg sucking leech with a cone head. It's got marabou, it's got rubber legs, big magnum rabbit strip, deer hair collar to push a lot of water. It swims like crazy, and we are going to do a very easy step-by-step for you to be able to tie one yourself. So let me get this finished one out of the vise, and I'll hang it up here on my rack. The hook is a size 2 4x long hook, and we've got a 6mm cone in hot orange. So that's our foundation of our fly. Thread is going to be, start off, we're going to use a black 3/0 waxed monocord. Let me find my tip. And we are going to make a thread base starting from the cone right down the hook shank. The thread does not have to be touching. We're just putting the threads down to give it some wax foundation for the materials to grip to that we're tying. And we're going to wrap this thread right down to the start of the bend, which is approximately at the barb of the hook. So now I'm going to bring my thread right back up to the cone, and I have one marabou, one black marabou I already selected, black blood quill marabou. And this hook, if I put it behind here, the length, that's how long I want my tail. This is going to be about halfway between the base of my vise and this little button here. So I want my marabou to go about halfway between the two of them. Alright, we can pinch that and cut this excess off. I'm going to lift my cone up, kind of push that marabou in a little bit, start wrapping over it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to hold that marabou up as I'm winding, and that's going to keep it on top of the hook shank. And there's our tail right there, black marabou. I'll bring my thread back forward, and I'm going to stop about 1/8 of an inch from our cone. And our body material is diamond braid black pearl. And I got that setting right across here. I'm going to tie this in by the tip, full length of our hook, right down to where our marabou is. Bring our thread back up to that 1/8 inch mark, tie a 1/2 inch, put the thread in our bobbin cradle. Now I'm going to wrap this the full length of our hook shank. There we go. And we stopped right at about 1/8 inch from our cone. And what that's going to be, the reason we stopped so far back is that is going to be our location where our deer hair is going to be. So I'll cut this excess off, get it out of the way, and now I've got crazy legs. They're black with red flakes in it, and they are quite attractive when they're in the water. I'm going to take one leg, I'm going to fold it around my thread, line up the tips, slide it right up the thread onto one side, and wrap over it. Here's two legs on this side. And now I'm going to get the other leg, wrap it around my working thread, line up our tips, slide it up our thread, bring it to the other side, start wrapping over it. So there's our legs. There, that's a little better. And now what we need is a piece of Magnum rabbit strip. And I have a piece here, and here is the package. Magnum rabbit strip in black. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to cut or strip about 1/4 of an inch of fur off from the end of our piece of leather. And then I'm going to cut a taper, a little more on that side. But you see how I left it flat. I don't need a point on this one. I'm going to lay it right across the top, lift up on the cone, and push that rabbit inside. A couple wraps to secure it. Now hold everything out of my way. Now I'm going to fasten that rabbit down. Now I'll put a whip finish on, because I'm going to switch threads to a gel spun for the deer hair. I could use the gel spun for the whole thing, but gel spun thread is very expensive. So you can see how long our marabou is, and our piece of rabbit's considerably longer. Well, that little button that's right there, I am going to cut the leather, not the fur. I'm going to push my scissors through the fur, cut the leather, and now with that rabbit fur sticking out past there, they're about the same length. I'll get that out of our way, and now I will get my 100 denier. Let's see, there we go, gel spun thread. But before I do that, I have pieces of straw that I cut to about 1/2 inch in length. And what I'm going to do, and I cut down the side, I'm going to slide this over our cone. You can see the slit there. I want the slit on the top. I'm going to slide that right down. Now that's going to hold everything right out of our way when we're doing deer hair. So now I can start my gel spun thread. Come on, gel spun thread. Let me cut that. Tag. And now that my thread is right up by the cone, I've got black deer hair. This is called a primo strip. And I'm going to cut a clump about the size of a pencil. And when I say the size of a pencil, that is where it is up by the leather. And I'm going to kind of just pull the short ones out and the fuzz out. I'm going to put it in my stacker, tap it down a couple times. That should line up our tips. Let me take that out. I do is I measure the length to my knurled knobs on my vise. I want them to be about 1 inch long. So I'm going to switch hands and cut most of that away. I'm just going to cut all but about 1/4 of an inch of it. You can see there ain't much there. And I'm going to turn my vise so this is kind of towards the bottom plus on the side. And I'm going to go over, over again, cinch down. Okay, there's my first clump. Now I'm going to repeat that. I'm going to get a second clump about the size of a pencil right up by the leather. I'm going to hold the tips, flare, kind of fluff it, pull the short stuff out, put it in the hair stacker, tap it a few times, take it out. Again, I'm going to measure it, cut the excess off, place that right next to the previous clump, and I'm going to go over and over again, trying to stay in the thread track as best as I can, cinch it down. And there's one more little space in there that we need to put deer hair. So I'm going to get a third clump about the size of a pencil. And I am going to flare it, get the short stuff out, put that in my hair stacker, tap it a few times, line up our tips, pull it out, measure it, switch hands, and I'm going to cut the excess right there. And I'm going to set that right in our last little gap, and I'm going to try to stay in our thread track, go over and over again, then cinch down. And now what I'm going to do, I'm going to pull it tight, and I'm going to start wrapping through those butt sections until I get up to the cone. And then I'm going to straighten out my cone, line up that hair. Now I'm going to do several wraps between the fur and the cone. I'm going to do a few half hitches. I'm going to take a razor blade, cut my thread. Now I'm going to bring my waist trawl right over here. And I'm going to take this razor blade and I'm going to bend it. And I'm going to follow the contour of that cone. And I am going to cut the butt ends and leave the tips. And there you have a mega egg-sucking leech, which now we just lift up on the rabbit, pull down on that piece of straw, and there you have it, a Magnum egg-sucking leech with a cone head, nice deer hair to flare and push a lot of water. I hope this helps you. I'm Scott Bowerman, the Fly Guy, Daiichi Pro Tire. Have a great day, and we will see you again. Bye-bye.